Greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm Simone Malone, your radio feel-good man, a trusted and respected voice in media. Delighted that you can join us. For those of you that clicked on, and this is an exclusive interview, my first exclusive interview to set the tone for 2023. And what a delight to be able to have Mr. Jermain Wright, a native of Philadelphia, born and raised from South Philadelphia, who is a professional therapist and counselor, a consultant in behavior health and counseling people. And we're going to talk about that. We just got off the radio, so you guys can always listen to FM HDMS radio at mobile.hdms.net. But today I want to spotlight this man that's making a difference in Philadelphia, Mr. Jermain Wright, and talk about what he does in trying to help families and people to feel better about their lives through therapy, through trauma, mood disorder, family conflict, relationship conflict, all kinds of issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome, of course, Mr. Jermain Wright to Studio 236. Once again, welcome. Thank you for joining me on the radio.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell everybody, who in the world is Jermain Wright? I know you were born in South Philadelphia. You dealt with some trauma in your life. You know, after your father passed, that kind of affected you. But tell everybody, who in the world is Jermain Wright from South Philadelphia, born and raised?
Well, if you were to look up Jermain, the definition of Jermain is to be brotherly. You know, and that's kind of who I've been all my life.
I didn't know
like,
that.
yeah, it means brotherly. You know, so I'm everybody's, big brother. Like,
Sure.
I'm that brother that you always had, that you always wish you wanted if you never had that. And part of what I think about what it means to be a brother is, to really be supportive, to people in times of needs, to be a good listener,
Yeah.
to be wise, to be a good problem solver, to be a good steward, over the people that you care about. So that's something that I take into my clinical practice, developing a lot of those values, with things that I got from my family, my dad, my grandmothers, my great aunt Lorraine, they all, took a lot of value
Sure.
in instilling in me certain principles that will help raise me up into becoming a good man.
Right. So you have your business, the consulting and counseling, JWright Counseling and
Consultation.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. So how long has this business been going?
We just went live January 1st, 2023. So, like, new year,
Congratulations.
So shout out to my IT guy, Mr. Douglas Tillman, for making that a reality for me. And, I've worked the last 7 years in community mental health as an outpatient director. And
I want you to tell a bit about your background professionally in mental health, because you have a lot of experience, you have the credentials. So share a little bit about your background before we talk about your consulting and counseling business. Go ahead.
Thanks. My last 7 years have spent like really honing my skills as a clinically trained therapist, working in community mental health, working with adults with mild to serious mental health issues, right? Mm-hmm. I started off working as a therapist, and it was through working as a therapist, master's level therapist with my master's degree in human service counseling. I earned a second degree while working as a therapist in professional clinical counseling, and then I went on to get several certifications in cognitive behavioral therapy, and prolonged exposure therapy, and even becoming a supervisor consultant for individuals wishing to become certified in prolonged exposure therapy, which is an evidence-based intervention to treat individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder. I worked in that role for several years. And then eventually I got promoted to clinical supervisor, and it was from going from clinical supervisor, I became a clinical director overseeing the entire mental health platform in the community mental health agency. So I'm overseeing doctors, therapists, medical records, the front office, while still, consulting with other agencies when different things come up with, like, hey, Mr. Wright, what do you think about this behavioral issue with the assessment? What is your understanding of how to work through it?
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What did you love about what you did that has prepared you for your own business now? You left all of that. That's great. Now it's about your business and helping those individuals with all that you've learned and captivated. What did you love about your job when you was doing that the most?
Oh man, like, I really do it for the people. It was never about money for me. I think I had my aha moment, where I was working with a can't say anybody's names or anything like that, but I was working with an individual, And this is before telehealth even existed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an individual who didn't show up for a session, and they had been coming. So they was like, they didn't show up for the session. So this is before telehealth existed, and just something instinctually just said, let me just call and check on a person and see what's what. So when I called and checked in on the person, they told me that they overslept or something like that. So I was like, all right, well, well, how you feeling today? And it was like, well, I'm actually not really feeling too well.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, how was you like to do your session over the phone, and then we don't even worry about the invoice and nothing like that. I just want to make sure that you're okay. So we did the session over the phone, and it went really well. Life comes at you full circle. So it would be several well, not several years, but it would be several months later, at the termination of therapy, that the individual told me that, remember that day when you called me out the blue? I wasn't even thinking about it. Remember that day when you called me out the blue? The individual told me, he was like, I
Yeah.
was thinking about taking my life.
Wow.
And it really hit me. Not that I didn't take it seriously.
Sure.
But it just really hit me to really lean in, to really think about the role and the impact that we have on other people's lives. And I said, okay, God, that was God's way of letting me know that I'm right where I need to be.
Awesome. So let's talk about this business you have. Give the website out, look into that camera, and speak to the people. Give your website.
Yes. So currently accepting new referrals, licensed in Pennsylvania, and you want to go to www.jwcandc.com. That's www.jwcandc.com, and that will certainly give you all of the information that you need available, and types of my background, my clinical expertise, and the type of interventions that I offer. Family conflict, men's issues, depression, anxiety, trauma therapy, the different modalities, and the different strategies that I'll use,
Absolutely.
CBT, PE, to help a person work through that. You scroll all the way to the end of my page, and it'll take you to a click appointment now, and it'll let you know, it'll walk you through what you can do to book an appointment.
And about the insurances that he takes as well. He takes my insurance, so that's good to know. That's a great thing. So what is it that you deal with the most, Mr. Wright, with the people that come to you for help? Because I hear in my ear as I'm talking to you, people have anger and mood issues and behavior. You hear the word behavior, mood, and anger all the time.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress disorder from situations, but I just hear moods, swings up and down, anger. I'm just angry about life and, conflict issues. So what do you deal with people the most on, and how do you treat these symptoms? How do you deal with these coping mechanisms of these individuals?
One of the, and I thank you. That's a really good question. I think one of the things that I find myself always having an educated conversation with people about is that you don't really have anger, you have trauma.
Trauma.
You got trauma.
So when a person is really angry, they're dealing with trauma.
Not all the time,
okay.
But a lot of time it's a trauma wound that hasn't been healed.
I believe that.
If you grew up in a war zone, wouldn't you be mad if you grew up in a war zone and you had to grow up in a situation where you didn't have your parents and then you didn't have access to the basic things that you needed to survive? Ecological system, the school environment is horrible. The neighborhood is horrible. The breakdown in the family system is fractured. Who wouldn't be angry about those things?
Sure.
So teaching the individual to see how the trauma that they've experienced, because you don't have a textbook case of PTSD, which is normally about like feeling like you're going to die, but you have been traumatized by having adverse experiences throughout development.
Yeah. So as a professional therapist that you are with all this experience, and ladies and gentlemen, I work with this gentleman. I know what he's capable of doing. I even sat in his office before, when I had to vent personally, if you recall, and he gave me some advice, and as a colleague. How do you help these individuals and those that are watching that could be dealing with this? How do you help them to deal with their trauma?
There's not one specific thing that we do, because every approach that I take to treating my clients is an individualized approach. But one of the things that we need to do is we need to learn to separate what's normal through what's a trauma response, right? Because a lot of times we feel like something is wrong with us When we get a little bit upset about
Sure.
things, it's normal. Anger is a normal human response. It's a normal emotion, and when we feel anger, anger can be used to protect us from things in life, right?
Yeah.
And also or
But what about
also
the simplest things that people get angry from, which I've witnessed with close friends and the littlest thing, and I'm looking at them saying, "Why are you getting so frustrated over that?"
well, one of the things that I found that's common. So common reactions to anger is it's about hurt feelings, right?
Mm,
And then so what we need to do is we need to find out what is the hurt. What is the thing that's hurt? Is it my ego that's hurt? Is it my pride that's hurt, right? Is it my expectations about something one of the things that I always find myself asking people is, have you considered that maybe you're upset because you asked somebody to do something that they can't do?
or don't want to do.
Yeah, or don't want to do. So how do we deal with
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
Because people don't have to do what you want them to do.
That's right.
So let's organize this and figure out a way to work through this thing that we're thinking about that's underneath this anger in a constructive way, and learning to differentiate between saying to myself it's okay to get angry about things, but anger and aggression are two totally different things. Anger is a normal human emotional response to being frustrated about a situation. So we
Mhm.
can be angry, but what we can't do is be violent. And
Right.
that's where the aggression comes into the
Right.
place, when we start to get verbally and physically aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's about something else.
Yeah. Going into the new year, many of you probably are dealing with family conflict. You thought that you left that behind last year. This gentleman here can help you with that. How do you address family conflict, which ties in that you said on the radio with
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
conflict? Relationship, families, we they interact. We have a relationship, you got family.
Yeah, majority of the time it's just all about the hurt, man. So we have to figure out where the hurt is, man. Is the hurt rooted in trust?
Hmm.
Is the hurt rooted in misplaced expectations? Is the hurt rooted in boundaries violations, right? So once we identify the hurt that's fracturing a relationship, we try to see, like, well, what are the restorative things that we need to do to possibly heal the hurt and reintegrate, restart a relationship. And
Great.
then also, sometimes we have to come into an understanding that not everybody that we're blood related to is our family.
Yeah.
So, and learning to define the terms of what makes somebody true family.
Good.
Because sometimes we stay in dysfunctional and toxic situations
Yeah.
out of this false sense of loyalty.
I've been using that word a lot in my personal life, toxicity and toxic things that we've tolerated when we know better and we put ourselves in that. You could be dealing with a toxic relationship. You could be dealing with trauma, post traumatic stress disorder. You may be depressed. You may be having mood swings, family conflict, all kinds of things. And if you go to his website, it tells you all that he offers. Give the website one more time.
www.jwcandc.com.
Real quick, we know advice is always not free, but right now he can share a moment of sharing some advice as we move into this new year. I had spoke on a message about from empty to full. I don't want to be empty, and that includes my feelings and emotions, and definitely my finances. So, what advice can you share as a clinician? Look into that camera, speak to that mother, speak to that father, that grandmother, grandfather, even that pastor out there that's watching. What advice can you share generally as a clinician about as we move into this year?
And one of the things that I find is common amongst people is, like, we feel like we got to handle things all about ourselves.
Yeah.
And for my devout spiritual people, we feel like that, well, if we have God, that we shouldn't seek the appropriate medical care, right? So there is a place for God and for mental health, right?
Correct.
And we work the lines. God is the pilot, of my practice. God is the pilot of my practice.
Awesome.
I'm just the person that's reading. I'm the co-pilot, right? So God is telling me everything that I need to do, and my practice, with the guidance of God, the spiritual connection that I have with my Creator,
Awesome.
and also my educational studies with being able to guide people from a clinical orientation. So my advice is to be like, don't feel like you have to tackle everything on your own. Seek the appropriate person that can help you. No man is an island unto himself, right? So it takes a village to raise a child, and sometimes it takes a multitude of supportive people to help you identify you yourself, or how to support somebody that you love with working through a complex mental health challenge.
Yeah, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing wrong with therapy. Don't say you don't need a therapist. I have one. I have a clinical psychologist as well. So whenever I'm going through something, I can pick up the phone and I can call them and talk to them to get me through this. So again, we want to thank you for joining us here out of Studio 236. Go ahead and say hello to, I know your lovely wife that's watching, and other people that you know that are watching. Say hello, give some shout outs real quick, and give your website, and encourage somebody right now to go to that website, book an appointment, and talk to you. Let's get this off of our chest together.
Yeah, let's go into 2023 and move forward, focusing on emotional healing, but really trying to pay attention to the negative mindsets and the negative narratives that we need to let go of that's keeping us stuck in life. We want to focus on growing and being the best possible versions of ourselves. I'm still accepting new clients, so you can look me up, www.jwcnc.com. That's www.jwcnc.com. It'll give you all of the information of the services that I offer, and it will also allow you to book an appointment and see what my availability is.
Mm-hmm.
And just special shout out to my wife, Mrs. Wright, JWright. I couldn't do any of this stuff
That's right.
without her. It takes a village. And definitely, my brothers, man. My biological
Mm-hmm.
brother Rick, my brothers Zal, Walt, Jay, Kente. Love you guys, man.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll be coming back to share more information with us. Someone had already hit us up and said, is he coming back for part 2? Because the information was so good that you shared on radio. Give your email out and your telephone number in case somebody said, I just want to speak to him. Go ahead.
You can always call me and then you can also Google me. So, like, if you Google me, Jermain Wright, LPC, licensed professional counselor, all of my demographic information comes up. But you can call me at 484-534-8767, 484-534-8767, and I can be reached at my first initial, J, last name, WRIGHT, 1105 @gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us right here out of Studio 236. For more details about how you can have an exclusive interview or be spotlighted here with the Radio Feel Good Man, Simone Malone, email me at feelgoodman1@yahoo.com or call 215-224-4297. Have a healthy mind, a healthy body. Take good care of yourself. I oftentimes say and I'm saying it to my colleague, give yourself what you need to feel whole and good each day. You know what that is, and I know too. Let's wave at everybody. See you all. Take care. Stay well. Bye-bye.